At number 10, we've got aliens started the Great War. Now, we've only had ancient aliens since 2010, but alien fever has been alive and well for decades, with our Zenton friends even appearing in the Fallout universe since day one. But some players believe that they didn't come in peace, after all. We might have known as much after Fallout 3's DLC revealed them to be hostile body snatchers, and at that fucking pleasant game since at least the 1600s. Now, there's no word yet on who they took, but I have my suspicions that Marcy Long is a fucking alien sent here to discombobulate me with her constant bitching and moaning. So what if VaultTec wasn't the devil after all? I mean, at least in this instance. What if they were just the fall guys for these green bubble-headed fucks? I mean, let's face it, 9 times out of 6, aliens turn out to be fucking dickheads. You think you're friends with one of them, then things get a little hot and sexual, and you end up French kissing them for a few hours. Then the next day, a little penis-shaped alien explodes out of your chest cavity. That's the last time I fucking make out with an extraterrestrial. Ah, who am I kidding? I've said that before, and wouldn't you know it, Friday night rolls around and I start feeling lonely again. One thing leads to another, and I'm knee-deep in a blue alien named Natiri. And we're just bumping uglies in front of the Tree of Souls like we just don't give a fuck. But enough about me and my fucked up sexual exploits. Let's face it, aliens have proven themselves to be of superior technology, and they're obviously not concerned about compromising our comfort. Furthermore, whenever you encounter an alien in Fallout, they're always hostile as tits. Even when you find that wounded alien in Fallout 4, that crusty little butthole shoots first and asks questions later. I'm just trying to give you a band-aid, E.T., you fuck. So these big-headed bump sniffers, they want us all dead. We know that, for sure. Think about it. If you were an alien race that wanted our planet, why invade Earth and risk casualties when you could just light the spark that sets the fire, so to speak? Let the humans kill themselves, right? It's genius, really. I rate this theory one guy who will do just about anything to close a business deal. Is this what you want? You need that? Huh? You need that? Huh? Is that what you want? I'll fucking do whatever you need, man. Okay? The banks say they're gonna take my fucking kids. At number 9, we've got Fallout 4 is just a dream. I mean, let's face it, dreams can be pretty weird. I once had a dream where a 6-foot purple penguin was chasing me with a super soaker, spraying me periodically in the asshole, saying, "Who's the wet bitch now?" I told my therapist about it, and one single tear rolled down her face. Which I licked off, obviously, because I can't let a perfectly good tear go to waste, right? She didn't understand. She asked me to leave and never come back. So needless to say, I'm in the market for a new therapist, if you know anyone. Some sources actually argue that everything that happens in the Commonwealth is in the sole survivor's imagination. The claim says that everything that happened after your character was placed in cryostasis is up for debate. Think about it. How do you really know you ever woke up? What if this is all just a simulation that Vault Tec is running on your consciousness while you're out like a light? Just like the simulation Dr. Braun performed on all them poor sons of bitches in Fallout 3. Now, there's a good amount of proof in favor of this conjecture, too. For instance, the sole survivor is the only one to wake up from cryosleep. That's a little eerie, isn't it? Furthermore, everything that takes place after you leave the vault is extraordinary. I mean, the player goes from being a new dad with a white picket fence to beating monsters to death with a fucking hammer. Seems like a bit of a jump. Finally, the cog that controls the whole conspiracy that affects the whole world space revolves around the sole survivor and his family. I mean, for a guy that never dies, finds the unfindable, kills the unkillable, and basically saves the fucking world, a dream really isn't all that far-fetched, now is it? I rate this theory 2 police officers overreacting to a trespassing cat. Sir! Sir! I'm gonna need you to put your furry little bum on the ground. Okay, rookie. Cuff him. At number 8, we've got the Mysterious Stranger is a role that's passed on. Now, the Mysterious Stranger in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas is heavily implied to be the father of the Lonesome Drifter. The Drifter will actually state that his father was a mysterious man and that he was a stranger to his own family. It's a really fucked up way to say things, isn't it? I mean, the word mysterious appears right above stranger in the dialogue box. The Drifter also carries a unique .44 Magnum, which can be acquired by the courier, that looks remarkably like the Mysterious Stranger's .44 Magnum in the game. And when drawing it, the same guitar notes that are heard when the Mysterious Stranger shows up are played. and a chord is played when the weapon is holstered as well. Now that doesn't sound like a fucking coincidence, now does it? Honestly, being a mysterious stranger doesn't sound like the worst family business your parents could force you to be in though. I mean, for instance, my uncle, he was a male prostitute until his pimp decided to stab him one night for getting a little too rambunctious. He never really did have that same glimmer in his eyes anymore after the stabbing. Probably because he stabbed him directly in the fucking face. I mean, that's a rough business being a gigolo. You think everything's fine and dandy, then one night you get a little bit lippy, and Carlos has gotta cut ya. That would be a terrible business to get grandfathered into, that's for sure. What the fuck was I talking about? Oh yeah. I mean, as for Fallout 4, the mysterious stranger is currently being investigated by Nick Valentine, who has made note of his several appearances in other games of the series, and attempts to apprehend him when he appears. I got him! I got him! Here he is, I got him! That's a pillow, Nick. Damn it! Fuck! I thought I had him. I really did. I thought I had him. He was right here. I had him. It's right at my fingertips. He must have just slipped out. Furthermore, the mysterious stranger looks different in all the different Fallout games. In Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3, the mysterious stranger looks similar, but in Fallout 1 and 2, the mysterious stranger looks completely different. Also in Fallout 4, it looks like it could still be the mysterious stranger from Fallout 3, but he appears to have aged quite a bit, indicating that he's not some sort of superhuman immortal. And he's also not a ghost that only the player character can see, because Nick Valentine is fucking obsessed with him. So if he ages, and he's not a ghost, and he looks different, then it's very possible that multiple people take on this role. Furthermore, there's also a mysterious stranger regardless of the timeline, meaning if he does age, he also does die. Whereas the first two Fallouts take place quite a bit earlier than Fallout 3, New Vegas, and 4, it leads many to think the mysterious strangers were different in the first two Fallouts. Also, the Lonesome Drifter was gifted his father's gun as if to pass it on to him so he could one day take up the task of being the mysterious figure that one-shots everybody in the fucking face. Meaning the role is passed on from person to person as they age out or die. I rate this theory one photo of a soon-to-be serial killer.
Fluffles, my most trusted companion, I must ask you a serious question. Do you think that lady over there would make a good lamp?
And number 7, we've got Dogmeat Is A Synth. I mean, Dogmeat is arguably one of the best companions in the game. He's loyal to you right from the hop, and he's a key component in discovering the man who kidnapped your son and killed your spouse. At times, Dogmeat seems almost too perfect, doesn't he? Almost like he's out of place. He's not like any other dog I've ever seen. I mean, I once had a dog, it was dumb as shit. Every time I looked it directly in the eyes, it pissed all over itself. So eventually I took it into the vet to see what was the matter with it, and do you know what the vet told me? He told me my dog wasn't actually real, it was just a stuffed animal. To which I replied to him, oh yeah? Then who the fuck has been licking peanut butter off my balls then? Anyways, whoops. Now, Dogmeat, despite being born in the same post-apocalyptic wasteland as other canines you encounter in your travels, isn't mutated in the slightest and looks like he's bred, not born. Which is weird for a dog living alone without an owner, don't you think? Honestly, you'd think he'd look skinny as shit, missing patches of fur here and there, and he'd basically be fucking useless. I mean, if he was a real dog, that is. Because he would be struggling to make ends meet in the post-apocalypse. But Dogmeat isn't, is he? In fact, he appears to thrive in the Commonwealth, unfazed by enemies, radiations, and other dangers. Furthermore, we know from visiting the Institute that they know how to make animal synths. Hence the big fucking gorillas we see frolicking about. So it wouldn't be a stretch to assume the Institute created other animals. It actually seems pretty probable that they would try to master an animal they're more familiar with first, like a dog, than trying to decode the fucking Jungle Book. Dogmeat is also quite possibly the smartest dog ever. Again, supposedly born in a nuclear wasteland, he's not only fully trained to follow you and take orders, but he also has skill sets that are trained into dogs, like tracing scents and so forth. I mean, imagine finding a stray dog in your backyard and rubbing some dirty underwear in its face and saying, "Come on, boy, go get him!" I mean, chances are that dog's gonna lick its balls and just completely ignore you. They don't just come trained to track down Kellogg's Rice Krispies across fucking Boston. That shit's learned, man. Finally, you find Dogmeat almost immediately after you leave the vault. What was he, stalking you like an ex-girlfriend? I mean, what are the chances you go to sleep for 200 years, the world blows up, and it just fills it with all sorts of monsters and cannibals and every other type of wickedness you can fucking imagine, and just as you're about to start your journey, you find a prize-winning, perfectly normal-looking German Shepherd just waiting to help you out. Like, hey, what can I do for you? Person I've never met before. What can I do for you? Do you think that's a little weird? Does nobody else find that a little fucking strange? Furthermore, it could be argued that without Dogmeat's help, it would have been impossible to get into the Institute. Like he was the key left under the doormat for you to find. No Dogmeat means no access to the Institute. Also, the Institute itself doesn't seem like the type of place to leave serious business up to random encounters. And when you meet Sean, he implies that the Institute wanted you to find them. So in a world as dangerous as post-apocalyptic Boston, you think they leave a guide, don't ya? And this theory proposes that they did, and that guide was fucking Dogmeat, who's not real, he's a synth. He's a goddamn robot. I rate this theory one couple that really rushed into things. At number 6, we've got Vault Tec started the Great War. Now, Vault Tec is a big corporation, and big corporations can't be trusted. No. One time I let my guard down, and I trusted a big corporation to do the right thing, and you know what happened? I saw Luke Skywalker blow a giant alien sea creature for sustenance. So trusting them was a fucking mistake, because once you see something like that, it's lodged in your brain. You can't just part with that shit easily. Needless to say, I don't know what the fuck Rian Johnson was thinking. Now, at first glance, it's unclear who launched the first bombs in the nuclear war that shaped Fallout's universe. Now, President Richardson in Fallout 2 would tell you China launched the bombs first. Then again, he's the US president, so he's got some reasons to lie now, doesn't he? Other than that, there's no in-game documentation or dialogue to suggest who started the war. Now, we all know that Vault Tec may not necessarily be that friendly Fallout shelter provider that it wants you to think it is. And one fan theory that takes that a step further, that's gained a lot of attention, purports that Vault Tec is actually so nefarious that they were the ones that detonated the first nuclear weapons that caused the Great War. I mean, think about it. Humanity was on the cusp of developing a technology that would eliminate the scarcity that had countries up in arms. And the realization of this society meant that the vaults would never be used. So billions of dollars would have just went right out the fucking window. Nullifying the risks of nuclear war meant that the vaults would never be used, and that the associated experiments never realized. The Sierra Madre chips and associated vending machines showed that humanity knew how to rearrange mundane raw materials into food and medical supplies. So it's not a huge stretch to imagine fuel could have been created too. Had the war not abruptly ended the advancement of technology, there would be no need for further fighting over resources. Post-scarcity Earth would mean a huge wasted investment for Vault Tec and the disappointment of those who wish to see the data. Furthermore, Vault 111 already had employees present when the bombs fell. What are you doing here, Bethany? The bombs just hit like 10 seconds ago, and you're geared up like an astronaut about to leave the fucking stratosphere. You don't think that's a little suspicious? I mean, this information implies that Vault Tec had insider information regarding the nuclear war. New York and Pennsylvania were bombed first according to the Fallout 4 intro, which didn't leave much time for the Boston vaults to prepare. It would have been impossible to mobilize the staff and scientists for a vault within 5 minutes. And it would be incredibly wasteful to have employees always on standby in the vaults. What if the bombs never dropped? They'd pretty much be living in a hole for years for no benefit. And as far as we know, every vault was adequately staffed unless the related vault experiment called for minimal supervision. Vault Tec knew something was up and had accurate knowledge on when the bombs would fall. I mean, Vault Tec wanted the bombs to fall, or they'd lose out on their significant investment and the associated research opportunities. Oh, they knew. They knew when the bombs would fall, those naughty little bastards. I mean, there's a lot of evidence here implying that Vault Tec had a hand in the war. I rate this theory one turkey that would do anything not to get eaten.
Fool me once. Shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
At number 5, we've got Nick Valentine was the original Courser. Now, Nick and Dima are both incredibly unique synths in the game in the sense that they were very early versions that were defective in some way and that were abandoned by the Institute. However, what if the Institute was designing Coursers when they designed Nick? This fan theory proposes that Nick Valentine was the very first Courser. Think about all the evidence. Nick is the only synth that was modeled after a pre-war human being. So why would the Institute need a particular pre-war personality? When you think about it, there's certain types of personalities that wouldn't exist in the post-apocalypse anymore. Like for instance, that of a detective, because let's face it, there's not much need for law enforcement in the Commonwealth when people going missing isn't news.
Hey guys, have you seen Terry?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw Terry. A little blonde guy? Yeah, I did see him. Yeah, he was screaming for help being dragged off into the woods by a deathclaw.
Ah, damn it. That's too bad. I really like Terry.
So if the Institute wanted a pre-war detective's personality traits for a particular synth, then Nick Valentine would be a perfect candidate. Pre-war detective characteristics, in and of themselves, would be perfect if the Institute was trying to design a synth that could track down other synths using clues, aka a Courser. And as we know, the pre-war Nick Valentine was a great detective, because he was the lead investigator on the case surrounding the infamous organized crime boss, Eddie Winter. Now I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. There's no way Nick could have been a Courser, right? He's not a violent guy. Well, I mean, Nick seems like a nice guy, right? But I bet you if you got him 6 beers deep and then just started punching him in the asshole over and over and over again, I bet he'd slap you around a bit. But then again, maybe that's the reason that he was discarded and that he's no longer a Courser. Maybe he didn't have the depraved disposition to kidnap and possibly kill his fellow synths. Therefore, the one thing the Institute didn't count on when they designed a synth by copying a real detective's mind was his proclivity towards moral decisions, which would in fact interfere with doing a Courser's job effectively. Now, Nick actually woke up one day discarded from the Institute, so what if the Institute trashed him when they realized he was too empathetic and would let synths go rather than bring them back to the Institute? I rate this theory one guy who hates assigned seating. Are you fucking kidding me? I can see the outline of this guy's dick in his shorts! At number 4, we've got the mysterious stranger is actually a rogue Courser. Now this actually makes a lot of sense. Think about it. The mysterious stranger shows up out of thin air and then instantly kills any target with godlike precision. I mean, he will kill anyone without a second thought. Good, bad, young, old, doesn't fucking matter. He could roundhouse kick a cute little baby penguin right in its cute little baby brain and not give one single fuck, okay? That's how hardcore he is. I mean, the mysterious stranger is definitely emotionless, morally ambiguous, and he's an extremely effective killer. So this fan theory actually proposes that the mysterious stranger isn't even human, that he is in fact a synth, and more specifically, a Courser synth. Think about it, Coursers are human-looking robots with enhanced features that make them extremely deadly. They can also teleport and will follow any command without any moral disposition. Sounds a lot like the mysterious stranger now, doesn't it? Furthermore, if he was programmed to help out anyone deemed an asset by the Institute, that would account for his guardian angel type assistance. Or maybe he's broken and just constantly teleports to people in distress. Either way, he seems pretty robotic. I mean, the mysterious stranger doesn't talk or seem to actually care about the sole survivor. He acts more like a tool than a human being. His presence is almost mechanical in nature. The mysterious stranger has also been seen in different places like New Vegas and the Capital Wasteland, which can mean multiple things. 1, he's no longer connected to the Institute. 2, maybe the Institute made more than one of them. Or 3, maybe this Courser can just go wherever he wants and help out whoever he wants. But he's still part of the Institute, he just doesn't need to be close to it. Either way, it seems incredibly possible that the mysterious stranger is some type of Courser. Now, one last small point that supports this theory as well is he dresses similar to Valentine, who was a very early model synth and was also a detective. And detectives are known for following clues and tracking people. Maybe they gave this model of Courser some detective components and designed him with a similar look to Valentine. It might be a bit of a stretch, but I think it still supports this theory. I rate this theory one dog pretending to be a super scary ghost. At number 3, we've got Deacon as the Lone Wanderer from Fallout 3. Now, Deacon is sort of a mysterious character in Fallout 4, lying profusely, rarely giving any details about who he is, where he comes from, or even what he used to look like. But what if his overly vague persona isn't a ruse? What if he can't give you any details because there aren't any details to give? As most of you are aware, Fallout 3 allows you to customize the Lone Wanderer, giving him or her any appearance, backstory, or moral proclivity you see fit. So if Deacon really is the lone wanderer from Fallout 3, he too wouldn't be defined by fixed characteristics, as that would contradict multiple optional playthroughs of the game. Rather, he doesn't give details because his personality and his appearance in the past are among thousands of possibilities. But that's not all. No. Deacon isn't even his real name. It's his code name for the railroad. Now, a deacon is actually a member of a clerical order, usually Christian, ranked just below that of a priest. As a verb, deacon can also mean to read a line of hymn before singing it, or to doctor or adulterate. Given the biblical references and the parallels in Fallout 3, such as Revelations 21:6, and that the lone wanderer's father was a doctor who wanted to purify the water in the DC area, it could be assumed that the name Deacon was chosen by Deacon himself as homage to him and his father's actions during the events of Fallout 3. That or they just wouldn't let him go with his first choice, Paco the Pussy Pounder. Yeah, guys, I'm gonna be Paco the Pussy Pounder. What do you mean it's already taken? Furthermore, west of Vault 111, there is a small post set up with a chair and binoculars. By this post, there is a railroad sign for Ally, implying that someone was waiting for the sole survivor to come out of the vault. No other member of the railroad should have information about the significance of Vault 111, much less the importance of the sole survivor beforehand. Now, if Deacon is aware that he's in a video game, it would explain that Deacon would not only know the importance of the sole survivor being the Fallout 4 player character, but also know when the sole survivor would be exiting the vault. Now, Deacon's true name, identity, race, and occasionally even his gender is a complete mystery. Well, obviously he's a white male, but the fact that he frequently gets facial reconstruction surgery, comboed with the fact that Deacon is a compulsive liar, means that he could literally have been anybody. On that note, Deacon also sees no problem with frequently getting facial reconstruction surgery, despite it being a dangerous procedure, as described by Dr. Sun in-game. However, because there's no actual in-game mechanics for facial reconstruction surgery being dangerous, Deacon doesn't see anything unusual about it. Also, the lone wanderer from Fallout 3 escaped Vault 101 in the year 2277, and the sole survivor from Fallout 4 didn't leave the vault until 2287. Meaning that there is 60. There's 10 years difference between Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. Yeah, I did that math in my head like a fucking genius. You like that? I can also do parlor tricks, like counting toothpicks in midair. Now, the lone wanderer left the vault when he or she was only 19, meaning that they would be around 29 when Fallout 4 begins. This somewhat fits with Deacon's supposed age, and also means that the lone wanderer could still be alive by the time Fallout 4 begins. Now, Deacon also frequently shows indifference during fights, and occasionally doesn't show regard for his own safety, which is something no other companion does. This implies that Deacon is either very used to frequent combat and traveling, or that he knows he's in a fucking video game and that he's an essential character that can't be killed. Occasionally, he will even ask about a team name between him and the sole survivor, suggesting Code Violet as the name. Now, Code Violet was part of Harkness' recall code in Fallout 3. A small point, but considering that Harkness was a synth, and that Deacon is part of a faction that actually shows sympathy to synths, is a pretty glaring fucking coincidence. Don't you think, fellas? It's a pretty big coincidence. Moreover, if it is believed that Deacon is the lone wanderer, it would explain one of the reasons for Deacon's deep-seated drive to help synths. One final point is that Deacon will frequently change his outfit depending on where he travels with the sole survivor, implying that he carries a lot of equipment around with him, which is something that many of the players of Fallout 3 would have done. I rate this theory one dog that actually died 6 years ago, but nobody told him.
Honestly, I feel fine.
At number 2, we've got the Fenns Phantom killed the real Nick Valentine. Now, some of you may or may not know about the prolific serial killer that once resided in the Fenn Street sewer. However, once you do find this little treasure trove of insanity that would give Buffalo Bill a boner, you'll notice multiple holotapes that are all meant for a detective. The very detective that was getting close to catching this psychopath. Well, this fan theory suggests that the detective that was looking for the Fenns Phantom was none other than the pre-war Nick Valentine. And this was in fact how the real Nick Valentine met his untimely end. Firstly, we know that the Fenns Phantom and the pre-war detective are pre-war figures. This is supported by the fact that the victims are skeletons rather than corpses, and that the Phantom's complaining on the holotapes of how fake and uncaring the world is, how he has to pretend to smile at people who hate him and such. Well, this implies he lived in a pre-war society. Because in the post-apocalypse, when your next-door neighbor is Kyle the Cannibal from the Raider faction, you really don't have to put on your social mask when you leave your house now, do ya? Another factor that supports this theory is the fact that the Fenns Phantom actually killed the detective that was tracking him. In between the third and fourth holotapes, the Fenns Phantom and the detective had a bit of a confrontation, in which the killer gained the upper hand and overpowered the detective. There's also a skeleton with a hammer in his fucking head, so something tells me someone lost their temper. Something tells me he just wouldn't put the lotion back in the basket. Why wouldn't you put the lotion back in the basket, Nick? Huh? You made him do this. You know how he feels about lotion and baskets. Then on the final holotape, the Phantom actually chuckles that the detective will now be down here with him forever, which implies that he killed him, and that now the detective is a new exhibit at the Phantom's crazy little sewer museum of death. However, the Fenns Phantom could have killed any detective, right? Wrong. There are many other factors that support that Nick was the only detective clever enough to get that close. Now, Nick was an excellent detective. He was called in specifically tasked with leading a team to track down and put to justice the infamous organized crime boss, Eddie Winter. In fact, the real Nick was hot on Eddie Winter's trail, but sadly wasn't able to catch him. In fact, he was so close that Eddie Winter had Nick's fiancée killed just to throw him off the scent. Now, Nick Valentine then got PTSD after his fiancée had been killed, and this likely made him more reckless than your average detective. Also, Nick likely didn't trust law enforcement anymore because his very organization received intelligence of associates of Winter's discussing his fiancée's whereabouts, to which they could have put her in witness protection, but they didn't. Therefore, Valentine was a pre-war detective living in the same time frame and area as the killer, and one of the only detectives capable of tracking such a villain. Furthermore, he's likely the only detective that would have been rash enough to face the Fenns Phantom alone. So the theory proposes that after Eddie Winter's case was closed and was out of reach for Valentine, he then set his sights on another killer, this time going it alone. Furthermore, the Nick Valentine we know, the synth from Diamond City, is based off of this pre-war figure. Not only does this detective have many similar traits of the original Valentine's, but Fenn Street Sewer is extremely close to Diamond City. Valentine could have chosen anywhere to set up his agency, but he chose one of the most anti-synth settlements in the Commonwealth. Being as how he doesn't really blend in as a human being, seeing as how his fucking brain is showing through his face, Diamond City might not be the place that he'd want to be. However, this detail could in fact be an indicator that he's attached to the area in some way, like as if he knew what the pre-war Nick was going to investigate next. But Baters, why doesn't Nick remember any of this stuff, right? Well, because it only happened after Nick got his brain scanned. During the Nick Companion questline, he says he went to his appointment at CIT, and the next thing he knew, he was in a dumpster in the Commonwealth as a synth. That's all that Synth Nick remembers, because that's all that was scanned from the original pre-war Nick. Also, before the bombs fell, it's highly unlikely the Institute was kidnapping people, as it was just a school at the time. So it would be safe to assume that they were asking for scans of gray people for scientific purposes, and that the real Nick went voluntarily, got scanned, and then just left. Later on, he could have easily pursued the Fenns Phantom case and met his untimely end. I rate this theory the face you make when someone takes your shopping cart right in front of you when it's still got your shit in it. Hello? And at the number 1 spot, we've got the sole survivor is actually a synth. Now this theory is simple enough. This theory poses that the sole survivor died like everybody else, but his brain and memories were perfectly preserved, giving the Institute an opportunity to design the perfect synth. Think about it, everybody else in Vault 111 is a fucking popsicle, but the sole survivor just struts out of the cryo chamber unharmed with nothing other than some chilly nipples. I mean, that's gotta raise some red flags, right? You see, a perfect synth to the Institute is a synth who believes wholeheartedly they are human, and will do anything to achieve their goals, even side with factions who want to destroy the Institute. Now, the Institute was in love with the idea of amalgamating and integrating synths, so much so in fact, they wanted to replace people in the Commonwealth with replacements that didn't even know they were actually synths. Which is a good idea, I think, because it's important that synths don't question the nature of their reality. I mean, just look what happened in Westworld. At first everyone was sucking and fucking each other, then bang, Dolores gets a memory or two and starts questioning things, and before you know it, she's shooting people right in the fucking face. Needless to say, knowing you're a synth isn't good for morale, or social behavior for that matter. Now, the Institute aspired to create true artificial intelligence, independent of the Institute, living a normal life like any other human might. Eating cheese puffs and binge watching Netflix, just like the rest of us, without even the slightest clue they aren't human. Therefore, the sole survivor would arguably give them one of the best opportunities of achieving this. Furthermore, the sole survivor seems to be far more capable than everyone else in Fallout 4, taking down factions, fighting death claws, and so forth and so on. I mean, it's safe to say there's something unique about this character. But is that uniqueness pre-war training or proof of concept for a synthetic brain? The sole survivor also kills a courser, or possibly even multiple coursers in the game, which shouldn't be possible for a normal person, unless that person is Chuck Norris, because he can fucking do anything. Now, the sole survivor is so capable, in fact, that he or she was the only person to ever track down the Institute. Furthermore, in order to gain access to the Institute, the sole survivor has to track down Virgil, who is hiding in the glowing sea like a bitch. Now, Virgil was someone the Institute themselves couldn't even track down. You know, the Institute, that group of people who have a seemingly limitless supply of technology and resources? Yeah, they couldn't even find that big green bastard Virgil, could they? Yet the sole survivor just strolls in like, "What's up, Virg? Wanna go do some impossible shit with me today?" Also, if you have the DLC Far Harbor and you run into Dima, he also proposes the idea that you might in fact be a synth. Lastly, this may be a small point, but it supports this theory nonetheless. Deacon is very interested in the sole survivor, to the point of almost a stalker-like obsession. Yeah, the very same Deacon who is a supporter of the railroad who finds synths to set them free. So either Deacon wants to kidnap you and do weird butt stuff with you in a basement somewhere, or your character is actually a synth. Those are the only two possibilities here, okay? I rate this theory one guy who's in a relationship with a giant deformed watermelon named Dolores. I told you guys that my girlfriend was real. See, here she is. Guys, Dolores, guys. Thanks again for watching, folks. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to bitch slap that subscribe button like it's 3 weeks behind on your rent. Bitch! Where's the money, bitch? Where's the money? Where is it? Also, go ahead and hit that bell icon too, because apparently YouTube thought there should be extra steps. Why not, right?
I'd like to subscribe, but first I have to click this and do this. Oh, it needs an email. All right, and this. Okay, fuck. Just tell me when he's uploading. Fuck!
Once you do all that, if you're lucky, at the stroke of midnight, a tiny little Averagebaters fairy might come and tickle your butthole. I hope to see you all again next time, and remember to keep on average baiting, baby.